It's crazy. I watched it as a kid, so this is such an honor.
When I was presented me to do MasterChef, I took it with both arms, and I can't even remember what we were getting paid back then. I wouldn't even remember. It was nothing, minimal, but the opportunity was so awesome. It doesn't matter if it's a great, sandwich shop or an amazing high-end fine diner. We've got a responsibility to make people happy.
As a chef, like on a Thursday night, do they get like fine dining all the time because you're like an amazing chef?
No, but they get whole food. We're very conscientious of good, wholesome cooking at home. We have takeaway now and then, of course. I love a takeaway pizza. They understand the values of sitting down together at the table and eating together. Follow Ghazi. It's very active on social media. There's always something dropping. It's the new way of storytelling. And if you're not telling the story, man, you're cooked. In the old ancient Greek days, you would go to an agora, a meeting point, pass on information and promote. Social media is the modern day agora. Making money is a byproduct of doing things that you love to do. Don't do it for extra money. And that's why I really love the idea of my kids. I give them cash. It's too easy to tap. Bing, bing, bing. That means nothing. It's not tangible. Be able to pay for things and feel that. It's a different feeling. Hi, Andy.
Hello, George. How are you?
Thank you. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Welcome to my dungeon.
Yeah, whereabouts are you based? Sydney, Melbourne? I know you have.
I'm in Sydney. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any restaurants in Melbourne as well, or was it just Sydney?
Just Sydney now. Yeah, just Sydney. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have restaurants in
I
Melbourne in
did,
the...
yeah. I mean, I had many venues in Melbourne, but the last one I've had is Hellenic House in Hyatt,
Yep.
um, which we've sold. So yeah,
Ah, over your lifetime, how many restaurants have you gone through, George?
I think I've owned around 20 odd.
Whoa.
So yeah, haven't worked it like as a young chef. I didn't really move around too much. I was very sort of loyal and committed to places. So yeah,
Okay, cool. How I first came across you, George, is I grew up watching MasterChef.
there
So
you
like
go.
in like primary school, high school, dinner, watching the TV with the family, we'd always be a big fan of the show. And then I think since then I've put you on my podcast list of different people I wanted to have on the show. And I guess we finally were able to make it work.
Amazing, Andy. Well, no, thank you very much. It's always a privilege to be able to sit with people and talk to them. It's a position that I don't take very lightly. I'm very grateful of, my experiences in life so far, and I know that there's many more to experience, many more chapters to get written. But I always look at a opportunity with when you do a podcast is to be able to help make a better place, on this wonderful thing called Earth, which I feel at the moment where society is definitely taking it a little bit for granted, and if we can do our part and play our part, we've got a big responsibility, so yeah, let's do it.
I love that, George. I guess a bit of context for the audience. What have been your main focus over the last 6 months?
Yeah, look, big move up to New South Wales, to Sydney. Officially moved up, Christmas of 2024. Obviously, to be able to settle my family down, my kids was really important into school. But we're set up a small little hospitality group up here, where we have a certain rollout of assets within the next 12 to 24 months that are all different. I'm sitting right now in Erskineville, which is we're sort of 3 weeks away from opening a beautiful gastro pub with 20 boutique hotel rooms. So hence why the office is quite bare at the moment. In saying that, there's lots of stuff on the whiteboard there. So yeah, it's really exciting. I think an opportunity to come into a new city is always exciting. I think for me personally, it's an opportunity for my family, my kids to learn about resilience in a way where, moving out of your comfort zone. Change is hard for anyone, any human being, I sort of akin it to the fact that if I, snuck into your house and put your alarm clock on for 2 in the morning, you'd freak. It's the same thing with change. Even though people go, no, I'm all good with change. Change is a challenging thing because we are creatures of habit. So to be able to teach that to my children is really good, and to see them thriving at the moment in new surroundings is wonderful.
George, what has been that catalyst for change? Like, what made you want to take this next step? Yeah.
Opportunity. My life has been my professional life of 29 years now has given me so many opportunities and so many doors that have been presented to me, and I've never been afraid to open that door and never been afraid for failure, because I think it's through failure we learn. Obviously, now I've got responsibility. It's not like I'm on my own, living on my own, where you can get by. I've got children's mouths to feed and roofs to put over their head and responsibilities as their father. But this opportunity has come, and I've taken it with both hands, and it's been it's no doubt it's been very topsy turvy, but very fulfilling at the same time. And I think through the hard times, it makes the good times taste even better. So yeah, I'm definitely working harder than I ever had, but hard work never really ever affected me, or never killed anyone, as the saying is. Well, I hope it doesn't. But it's really exciting time right now to be alive. I think in terms of what I do and hospitality, and it's challenging and it's hard. There's no question about it. But in the late words of my father, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
To sort of paint a picture, is it sort of like a scenario where maybe a partner or an investor came to you and was like, hey, George, I'd like you to help us open up a bunch of hospitality things over the next 24 months, and you're just like churning them out and pumping them out?
Yeah, I think you know what it is. We definitely working very closely with a fund, and some really good guys who understand the journey of business, and I'm learning a lot from them. And yeah, we've got certain milestones and certain assets that we've got to get open, but obviously they've got to be done with some real hospitality now. It's not just about opening a venue, but it's creating a venue that has cultural values, has beliefs, has implement systems and processes, but above all, it's humans. So pulling together and creating a great team is something that really always has excited me. And to have a core bunch of my team from Melbourne come up and join me has been wonderful. And we're like we are a family. We argue every second day, and we laugh every second minute, and we work hard together in the trenches. So yeah, it's a real exciting time right now. But to do that with some real fabulous people is makes it even better.
Sort of something I was thinking about as you're sort of sharing that answer, George, is sort of franchises like McDonald's, Starbucks. There's sort of this like blue chip sort of hospitality cafe restaurants where you can reliably expect a certain amount of cash flow year in, year out. Is that possible within the restaurant industry? Like, it seems so hard. There's ups and downs, there's massive launches, then people forget about your stores, and there's stuff like COVID that occurs that just shuts your business down completely. Is it possible to build a restaurant with consistent cash flow or consistency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you're right. I mean, I'm not one of, no disrespect to those brands that you mentioned, because there's a lot we can all learn from them. But yeah, it's a tough time in hospitality. There's no question about it. So the assets we look at are not just a standalone restaurant. We look at diversification within the asset, being, F&B being one part, accommodation being a second part. So that's really important for us, because they can support each other. Let's not shy away from the cost to do business right now in hospitality. It's extreme, like it's never been before. I mean, anyone in business in hospitality right now, to me, is an angel. I'm sure if I told, the top 100 business humans of the world, I reckon in that top 100, there'd be a minimal amount that have interest in hospitality, because the margins are so slim, and the risk is so high, because, there's only so much AI can take over hospitality. There's only so much robotics can take over hospitality. At the end of the day, it's human touch. And the type of business we like to be involved in are more community-based venues, great gastro pubs, because we want it to be that place that you're coming to once, twice, three times a week, not once every 6 months. So, fine dining restaurants, even though I've had one before, being the Press Club, and I loved it and it put me on the map, but that's definitely not the type of businesses we have within the realm. So yeah, it's definitely a tough time, but it's how we can bend our brains to make, because I'm not going to do anything else in my life. It's what I know and love. I absolutely love it. So, there's always ways on how we can be better.
Yeah, I think that's such a cool perspective because I didn't realize something like a pub, people are going 2, 3 times a week. There's that consistency. You sort of build your loyalty to that pub, and you're always going on a Wednesday to get that $15 Wednesday steak, maybe. Would you prefer to build a pub from scratch or buy an existing one? Well, what's usually the go?
Yeah, like for example, the Currajong here, it was built, I think, in 1938, so it's been here for a long time, but it's had a full reno, and we now got a big responsibility because there's prehistoric history. So what we've had to work hard on is understanding what is that history and how that history can either help make us or break us, because there's people's memories of the place. So how do we exceed those memories? How do we make them better? So I don't mind that. It's a challenge. There's always a risk when you start a new brand because you've got to work even harder to get that out there. Where now people know of the Currajong in the area. I mean, the amount of people that are been knocking on the door, even today, I've spent the whole day here, just want to pop in and have a yarn and tell us about what happened here 20 years ago. And the local footy club, apparently back in the 70s, 80s, they used to handwrite the team sheet on the blackboard inside the pub, and you would come in 11 o'clock, come and see if your name was on the team sheet for the day, which I think is great. So we'll try and pull on those references and those heartstrings and try and add them back into what was the color of color and the culture and the DNA of the place.
Coming from your food and sort of cooking background, are you going to do anything differently to the sort of menu, or is it going to be like a really simple pub menu that everyone can relate to? They know the steak, the schnitzel. Yeah, your thoughts, George?
Yeah, I think there's really important balance there. You don't want to take it too far, but you don't want to also be white noise, because you get lost in white noise. You want to know that the warm and fuzzy items are always there. That schnitzel is amazing, and it's beautifully sourced, organic chicken, and it's crumb daily, and it's cooked in ghee, and it's yummy. You want that to be amazing, but you want to also have other little options on there that people go, oh wow, I've never seen that before, or oh my god, that's amazing. So you've got to. It's like the great DJs of the world, or the great conductors of the world. It's being able to pull together all those instruments and have them work in harmony. And that doesn't happen over within the first week or the second week. We can, I've got another session tomorrow with Francesco, who's our executive chef of the group, going through the menu again, pulling it apart, tearing it apart. On paper, it's one thing, but until, we start serving the first customer and start hearing the noise and knowing that people are loving it, that's when you go, okay, yeah, we're on the right track. And a great hospitality venue is like we're a pirate ship, and we're the pirates on the ship. And sometimes we're going to go left. Occasionally the wind storms are going to hit us. We've got to go right. Occasionally we've got to, anchor down and sit still. And it's about accepting the fact that every single day, what can we do? What's one thing we can do to be better, both for ourselves personally? That might be, I'm going to make sure I go to the gym this morning, or I'm going to make sure I meditate, or I'm going to make sure I, sit down and eat a really delicious meal, or go for a walk, and what's the other thing I can do for the business that's going to add value, that's going to make it a better place. And it could be nothing to do with the consumer. It could be for the team. I'm going to make sure that we do a really beautiful staff team dinner tonight, because it's going to make them happier.
I love that. I recently watched the movie Burn, that cooking movie with Bradley Cooper, and it was so interesting seeing how they built out the menu. Then it was criticized for being a bit too old school. Then there's a scene of Bradley Cooper going to his local deli and trying a bunch of food and just walking around late at night, getting inspiration, pulling together sort of a new sort of modern menu. And then even once you have that, after 1 or 2 years, you're gonna have to rebuild the menu, and it's not something that's said and done. It really showed me what it was like to be like an artist when you're sort of in the cooking world. That's what I thought of as you were sharing your process of building the menu.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, always say, rock stars, what they do a concert a week, or 6 concerts a week in a month. We've got a concert every day. As soon as we open the doors and people come in, it doesn't matter if it's, a great, sandwich shop, or an amazing high-end fine diner, or a beautiful gastro pub. We've got a responsibility to make people happy. I mean, at its core, that's what we are. I mean, artists, I think there's a level of artistry within my field that is artistry, but also I'm just in the business of pleasure. I just want to make people happy, and that's everyone. I want to make my team happy. I want to push them, also drive them. I've got a responsibility to make them a better version of themselves every day. I've got a responsibility to myself to be a better version of myself every day. I've got a responsibility to the customer, our guests, to make sure that we exceed their expectations and we make them happy, because we don't know what mood they've come in with. Like, consumer behavior is an interesting thing. I mean, I've seen it all my life. Like, wow, probably why I prefer being in the kitchen. Because consumers, you don't know what's happened. You don't know what argument they just had with their wife or their husband or the whatever partner. And then as soon as they enter into our oasis, how can we fix that? How can we make them better? Because we're not, you're not going to walk into your doctor's clinic and, tell them that they're what are those things called where they check your heart rate?
The stethoscope. Yeah.
It's a shit stethoscope, and I don't like the color of the wall. It's crap, and this chair, it's not that comfortable. But people come into restaurants and critique everything. They tell us everything, and probably that's my fault. And Gary and Matt from MasterChef, we created food critics, across the world. So we're probably to blame. But we've got a responsibility to make people happy.
I guess maybe the answer is everything, but when it comes to the tasting of the food, the ingredients, the atmosphere, the furniture, the music, Is there sort of like an 80-20 rule where if you focus on this thing, it will sort of create 80% of the customer experience and everything else is sort of a bonus on top?
Now, I try and every nuance of everything I need to be across, from the nature strip garden to the tables and chairs to the, we know that here at the Carrijon Hotel in Erskineville, it's a very, I think everyone owns a dog. It's part of their DNA, their family. So, we're creating doggy cocktails, where you can come sit out the front. It's beautiful. There's a garden, a beautiful park across the road, opportunity to, clip your dog's lead into the table. You can order a doggy cocktail. So we're working on what that looks like, a bone broth of some description, and make these really cool Carrijon Hotel dog bowls with our branding on it. So, for me, it's thinking about everything, how to book, how can you ring, can you contact, who do you speak to, the hotel rooms, how they integrate in with the branding and how they connect with the human. Is the customer experience easy? How can we use AI for that? There's a whole raft, a myriad of, a great venue, a great place it's about lots of little things done well. If you focus just on one thing, and a lot of chefs that become restaurateurs fail because all they care about is the food and don't care about anything else. For me, I'm at a time in my life where the food's the last thing on my mind in saying that, because I've got way better chefs than I am running these kitchens, and I trust them. Don't get me wrong, I want to be across it. And if something doesn't feel right within me, I'm going to tell them. I don't hold back. So yeah.
That's beautiful. George, how do you go about building out the team and all the cooks? Is it your same team from Melbourne? Are the cooks for a pub, gastropub, different to a chef for like fine dining, or could you use the same person for everything?
Yeah, you probably look. They're totally different genres, so to speak. Too. For example, Sheridan, who's at Ghazi at the moment, he heads up the restaurant Ghazi. He's been with me for like 15 years. He comes from the fine dining world of Press Club. So Ghazi suits him well because it's not fine dining, but it's still sort of very creative food, but executed at a high level. Where if I stuck him into a pub, he'd probably, I wouldn't say struggle, he could learn it, but it just takes time. I'm very lucky that my top tier level of management have been with me for a long time. Terry, Valeria, they've been with me for a very, very long time, and they're my right and left arm. And, I obviously want to be part of the decision of general manager and head chef. But at the end of the day, it's up to them. They get the final say. For me, and everyone underneath that, I'm not really involved in that stuff, but, they are the ones that drive that with the managers underneath them. And, I always say, for me, resumes, you can have whatever you want on your resume. I want to know, I could teach a plumber how to cook, but I can't teach who they are as human beings. That comes from your upbringing, comes from your parents, comes from a lot of things. And all I want is good people that are kind, people that are determined, people that are driven, people that are self-starters. If you're walking, in the back of house and there's a piece of paper on the ground, is it that person that stops to pick it up, put it in the bin, or is that person the one that steps over it? Who's the one that I want? I want the one that's going to stop and pick a paper up, put it in the bin, we're walking down the street and there's a little lady struggling to get across the street, the one that helps that little lady. That's the person I want, because that's a kind person. And, the world needs kind of people out there. We need to be proclaiming that at the top of our voice all the time. Don't get me wrong, we make mistakes. I've made a load of them. I've made a lots of mistakes, but I try and be a better version of myself every single day, every single month, every single year. I regret a lot of things I've done in the past, but I can't do anything about the past. I can only fix the future, and being a better version of myself every single day, something I teach my kids about, my team members about. So yeah.
I love that. I think, when you talk about having like a management team and having all this sort of infrastructure in the background, people have no idea because, like, when they see you on Instagram, when they see you on TV, they think it's just you. You're the guy behind the kitchen, and you might have this one restaurant, and that's it. I guess for context for the audience, like, what assets are you running? How many different things are you juggling? Like, what's on your plate at the moment?
Yeah, there's a fair bit. I mean, about to launch a pop-up at Crown Casino in Melbourne for the month of November called Extra Virgin. So really exciting and good to. I'm got Luke Croston, who worked for me for over 20 years. One of my absolute superstar chefs. He's going in there to spearhead that. I've got a project in Adelaide called Radio Athens with an amazing cocktail bar next door called Unorthodox in an old church. So, working with a local guy called George Calombaris there, who I've known forever, an amazing hospitality guy. So there's that, and there's obviously all the venues we're doing here in Sydney. And then obviously there's the George Calombaris stuff, promotions in India, TV show in India, I'm doing another TV show towards the back end of this year for Australian television, which is super exciting. There's a lot. So it's, I'm not just, and also I love to cook. So I'll be in the kitchen Friday, Saturday this week at Ghazi on the pass working. So yeah, it's never a dull moment, but I can't do it without everyone that's around me. And that's everyone from my lawyer, my accountant, my financial advisor, Natalie, my wife, there's everyone that's involved. My best mates, who I count. There's only a few of them. They're my childhood friends. All of these people play a big part and role in my life. There is a facade of Instagram that doesn't show, the true essence of my day to day. I'm in shorts and dirty runners today because we're moving, stock around, literally wiping dust off my face when I came down here to have a chat to you, Andy. And, because at its core, that's who I am. I like to be hands-on, in and amongst, leading from the front. Yeah.
Being so in it and having so many things going on, is it stressful with all those commitments, all those expenses? Like, are you looking at your finances every day? Like, I've been bleeding out for the last 2 years. I've been keeping all my employees employed, and it's stressful, and you have so much more going on. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, Andy, I won't lie, mate. Like, it's been very stressful for all of us. And, I'm very lucky that I don't ever worry about, I've never not worried. Let me rephrase that. I am no expert when it comes to the accounts. I wouldn't even know what is in our bank account at home. And I never really, unless Natalie comes to me and tells me something, all my focus is number one, do things that I love and enjoy. I think, Andy, the most important thing that I've got built within my brain is the fact that I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at, or the stuff I don't like doing doesn't excite me, doesn't make me happy. And I've gotten to a point in my life also, I will not do anything unless it makes me happy, because making money is a byproduct of doing things that you love to do. The money will come. I come from nothing, Andy. I come a boy from the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. My parents worked hard to give us all a good education, to put food on the table and a roof over our head. There was never really family holidays to Europe. That's only come in the latter part of my life when I could pay for it myself and afford it myself. I'm a true believer. Don't do it for extra money. Don't, when people go, oh, I really want to come and work for you, but they're offering me an extra $10,000, go. If go. You're doing it for the wrong reason. And it won't last forever, I'm telling you. Money is a byproduct of things that you love to do. It's like a tree. Without its roots, it's just a piece of wood. Make sure your everything, your DNA's got the roots, the leaves, everything that you want to, and then you will be successful. And sometimes you'll go through these purple patches where you're going, geez, I'm flying close to the sun. But if you truly believe in yourself, you'll get through it. And when you get through it, it's going to make the moments when you do start making money and it's so good, you'll respect those dollars. Yeah, you really will. And my late father would always say, when he had his independent supermarket, he used to count the cash on a Saturday and rearrange all the heads so everything faced the right, everything was beautifully stacked. And I'd go, Dad, why do you do that? Just count them, put them all together. He goes, no, 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 no. Take the minute to respect the money, the hard-earned money you work for. And that's why I really love the idea of my kids. I give them cash if they're going to the cinema because I want them to feel the actual. It's too easy to tap. Bing, bing, bing. That means nothing. It's not tangible. Have that within yourself to be able to, pay for things and feel that it's a different feeling.
How old are your kids, and do you want them to have their first job in the restaurant, as a waitress, running around? Any thoughts there?
My son, James, is 14, and Michaela's about to turn 13. James is a glass polisher on a Saturday night at Ghazi. So he sits in the glass room and polishes all the glassware. Obviously highly illegal because he's not, 14 and 8 months, but he's my son, and he's rewarded with, he knows he gets an hourly rate. Well, I can't remember what it is. I'll give him, and it's good for him to learn the values. And, if more than anything, he's seeing how hard we work in hospitality, and he doesn't want to be in hospitality. You go, well, study hard and do what you love. And yeah, you could do whatever you want in life, but values of hospitality teach you a lot. How to look at someone in the eyes, how to shake their hand, the currency of money and how to balance things, stock rotation, humans. It teaches you so much. So it's something that, yeah, really, really important. But I want them to be the best versions of themselves. I want them to love life. I want them to have humility. I want them to have a certain sense of vulnerability. I want them to be weathered, to have the tools to understand they are going to go through tough times and how they get through them. All those things are so important, Andy. We've got to be able to strengthen our children to be strong. That, you know what? If you came second, you came second. Just accept it. If you want to come first, work harder. There's no, like that's just life, dude. Because when you get out there in the big bad world, that's how it is. A ribbon for everyone is bullshit. Yeah, you either came first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. That's it. Oh, a participation award. It's landfill. Doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you got to. And I push them to strive, to work hard. And it's okay if you came fifth and you're happy with that. Good on you. Who am I to judge you? But if you turn around and tell me you wanted to come first, and a moment recently happened. My son was in a quarterfinal of his soccer for his soccer club, stepped up to take a penalty, missed. They ended up winning, going through to the semi-final, and it went through to penalties again. And he decided to be the first one to take the penalty. And I was sort of on the sideline going, whoa, this is ballsy. This could go two ways here. You're either going to be a hero or you are really rubbing salt into your wounds. Stepped up, took the penalty, scored it. And I was so proud of him because it said a lot about character. It said a lot about the fact that, you know what, I effed it up the first time around. I accept that. I'm going to go again. and have another crack. And that's great.
I love that, George. I want to be respectful of your time. I wrote down, I think I got like another 6 or 7 questions, so
Okay.
we'll speed through them. The last thing I wrote is you talked about sort of your kids seeing you, work hard. So I'm imagining you're having late nights, you got early mornings because of business stuff. How do you handle your sleep? And is it morning shift, night shift? Are you constantly on small amount of sleep? How are you constantly rotating?
It just depends, Andy. I mean, I've gotten better in my older age to make sure I get more sleep. I exercise. I do. I weight train twice a week. I play squash twice a week, which is really important for me for my mental capacity. It's not about me being having a six pack, let alone being a world champion squash player. It's about me doing something that really helps my health, my brain health. But I make sure, like tonight, it's Thursday night, I'm going to make sure I go home for dinner, have dinner with the family, because I know Friday, Saturday, then, it's going to be a write-off. I'll be working. And then Sunday is family day. We'll have a big day together and hang out. But, yeah, they know my life is crazy and chaotic. But, I try and involve them in it now, especially than ever. And just my son coming to work with me on a Saturday is wonderful, because we get to spend time together.
I love that. Something I always curiously think about as a chef, like on a Thursday night, who's cooking? Are you cooking every night? On a Sunday brunch, are you doing like a Sunday roast? Do they get like basically fine dining all the time because you're like an amazing chef?
No, they get whole food, tonight, we'll have, I'll light our little barbecue up, and because it's a beautiful day here, so barbecue off some beautiful chicken that's been marinating in some Thai flavors, lemongrass, ginger, garlic, chili, beautiful coleslaw, and that's dinner. So we're very conscientious of good wholesome cooking at home. Whole food, we're not really big. We have takeaway now and then, of course. I love a takeaway pizza. But yeah, we try and, they understand the values of, sitting down together at the table and eating together. No phones, good conversation, good arguments, everything that needs to happen at a family table.
That's beautiful. One thing that you've brought up a few times is how you have these chefs that's been with you for 15, 20 years. How have you been able to create such a long-term sort of relationship and sort of have a chef commit to you and be like, hey, yes, I want to open up something with you, and have them commit their, 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. for the last, 15 years? Yeah.
I think, I'm very honest with them. I try and reward them with more than just money, experiences, travel. I try and be more than just a mentor for them in the kitchen or on the floor, but more life as well, because I guess of my own experiences so far. And I think I try and be as empathetic as I possibly can, and understanding of them. And I think I'm a better version of that than I've ever been now than I was probably 15, 20 years ago when I took no prisoners back then, because all I cared for was producing the best food I possibly could on a plate, because it had to be. I was obsessive compulsive. Don't get me wrong, I still want quality and amazingness, but it shouldn't get in the way of humanity, because if there's anything I've learned in time is, I mean, at the end of the day, we get born, we can't speak, we learn all that, we die, we can't speak, we're gone. So during that time on Earth, we've got a responsibility. So I try now more than ever, and I don't want to be too philosophical about it, is give these amazing humans that have been next to me for so long as much of my time as I possibly can give them.
In sort of like the nice restaurants sort of space, is it possible to hire chefs and just have them on salary, or do you sort of need to have them a partner and own equity within the business to have them be motivated to shop every day for 10 years if you're looking for something long term?
Depends. I feel like that, yes, when you actually have been with someone for a long time. And, even during the mate establishment days in Melbourne, I had many of my team members that have been with me for a long time then earn equity into some of the businesses, which is, they deserve that. So, yeah, I think, it's important to crawl before you walk, before you run. And because there's then a certain sense, there's another certain level of risk you take once you're a equity partner, owner, whatever that means. So, I feel like I used to, rather than forcing people, it's take them on the journey and slowly help them build and make sure you tell them. I think the most important thing is that honesty, that honesty of where we want to go and does it align with their values and your values. But yeah, I mean, that's always great. If you can afford to give out equity to stakeholders, it's great. It's a great thing to do. But, you got to be very, very mindful because it's also got its fish hooks as well.
Makes sense. You've sort of been in the gamut for so long, and back in the days, I'm guessing restaurants would have been promoted through magazines, TV, newspapers, but times have changed. Like, people Google reviews, social media, influencers. Have you Are you on all those different things? What's your thoughts
Have
on
to be.
marketing in today's time?
Have to be. Have to be. Anyone that's not, I don't know. I don't know what you do, but it's, yeah, back in our old days, in the original days of Press Club, just open the doors and that was it. You get a review in the newspaper on a Tuesday, you go out and buy that newspaper, that the Age, and oh my God, I got 16 out of 20 and yes, it's good and all that. And then bang, and that's how my journey began. But now it's live 24/7. And look, the bit that sort of I get, frustrated is when they're fake reviews or, and they're not controlled. Hence why I'm involved quite heavily in a global platform called Culinary Wonderland, because it's driven by professionals. They're chefs globally. They're not, someone that's biased. They're people that love it, and we only talk about things that we love, not things that we don't love, which is a source of truth. So yeah, it's a very, very, you've got to be active, and we are. I mean, Ghazi, if you follow Ghazi, it's very active on social media. There's always something dropping. We're storytelling. It's the new way of storytelling. And if you're not telling the story, man, you're cooked. In the old ancient Greek days, you would go to an agora, a meeting point in the middle of the town. You would come and exchange news and pass on information and promote. Social media is the modern day agora.
I love that. That's so funny. Talking about social media, tell me about these upcoming plans for getting back on Australian TV. When was your last time on Australian TV? And tell me about the Indian TV. That's so cool that you're on Indian TV.
Yeah, look, yeah, I mean, after MasterChef, I took a good break. I did a little show called Hungry with Sarah Todd that went on Channel 10, and that was fun. But we love the fact that we get to, Matt, Gary, and I get to go back to India and, once or twice a year to film a show over there called The Ultimate Home Chef of India for their local television called Z. And yeah, it's super cool. Obviously, I can't disclose what I'm doing towards the back end of the year because I've signed a confidentiality. But I loved TV. TV is not something I went out to find. TV came to me as an opportunity. And when I hear young chefs go, I want to get on TV, how do I do it? Because it's sort of, I'm not fame hungry. I just love the vehicle that is television because it can amplify my love, which is food, cooking, hospitality. You'll never see me on television talking about aeronautical engineering. but the opportunity when I was presented me to do MasterChef, I took it with both arms, and I can't even remember what we were getting paid back then. I wouldn't even remember. It was nothing, minimal. But the opportunity was so awesome, and I'm grateful for those 11 years. And I've got to meet the most incredible human beings, the most amazing chefs globally, and my friends now. It's opened so many doors for me.
George, yeah. How did MasterChef come to be? How did that come across the table? You were like super young at the time. Were you like running a restaurant at the same time as going on TV? Were you juggling both? Tell me about how that came to be at the start.
Yeah, yeah. At the time, I had the Press Club and Hellenic Republic, and I just won Young Chef of the Year, and the restaurant won Best New Restaurant, and won some incredible awards. So I was sort of known for my cooking, I guess, within the world of culinary. And yeah, it sort of came to me, and I juggled both. At one point there was 20 odd venues and MasterChef, and I was juggling them both. Crazy, 500 odd staff members. But would I do things differently now? Of course, and especially now, I'm 46. I don't want to work as hard as I did back then, but I want to work. I still want to. I loved television, and I think I've still got a lot to give in both the hospitality space and the television space.
That's crazy. You were like juggling 20 venues at the same time. What's your advice to someone that's listening that might only have one restaurant, one cafe spot, brunch spot? Any advice? Because it's crazy how, there's people struggling to just handle one. You were able to somehow juggle 20.
Understand that. Okay, are you content with what you're doing? Do you love it? Do you want to expand? How are you going to do that? Have you got the right people? Are you surrounded around the right people? That's so important. Speak to people, listen, always go with gut, brain, paper. Work hard on paper, because that costs nothing, that bit of paper. But these bricks and mortar, and once you start employing people, the money starts bleeding out of the business. You've got to really make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Be prepared. Preparation doesn't cost you anything. But once the doors open, that's when it really starts.
I love that, George. 2 questions I usually always wrap up these podcasts with. One, any recent discoveries or habits that you've been implementing to your day-to-day life?
Recent discoveries.
Or maybe the last one.
Yeah, look, I am not big one for fads. Like I'm pretty old school. I don't need the latest iPhone. As long as it's working and does its thing, and I don't need lots of technology. Don't get me wrong, I accept technology for this new wave of technology, and I surround myself around people that make sure they know how to do it. I'm not one for, I'm going to try the keto diet now and move on to another thing because I heard it on Instagram. I'm boring, man. I like to put my focus on creativity. And creativity is something that I love and adore. And I don't force creativity. Creativity comes in waves. So yeah, man, that's me at the moment.
Love that. And any personal goals for the next 6 months that isn't work related?
I think right now more than ever, especially with the way the world is, I'm really it saddens me to hear all the noise, and we don't need to go into the detail of that, but we all know what's going on at the moment in the world. Just to be a kinder human being, that's it. That's all I'm striving to do. I'm really making an effort within myself to wake up every day and try and do something for a stranger. I've noticed the other day a girl was backing her car into a parking spot, and I know you can't back your car in this certain street in in Paddington. You've got to have face forward. You get fined. I literally stopped, got out the car and told her, hey, you're going to get a fine. She probably thought I was a bit of a creep at first. But, you know, like try and do something to be a better human being. Try and be kind. Try and be generous. Try and be supportive. That's it. And if we can all start to do that, it will end this sort of nastiness out there at the moment. You know, yeah, that's it, bro.
That's beautiful, George. George, how can people get more of you?
Yeah, look, you know, obviously social media is something that you get a lot from George on there. You know, a lot of myself, a lot of my honest self. Stay tuned. There's always something going on in my world. You know, everything from obviously restaurants, television, events, whatever the case may be. So yeah, man. You know, I'm 46. I feel like I'm half time in my life. It's been the first half was bloody interesting. It had so many twists and turns, ups and downs, and I'm excited to write the next chapter.
I love that. We'll pop up your Instagram. I guess that's a place where they can find everything that you mentioned, all the different things that's going on. They can follow you on Instagram. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, George.
Thank you,
I
Andrew.
really loved. I love how you've been really emphasizing doing what you love. I think that has given me the fire I need as I'm transitioning into sort of more passion, focus sort of path. And I think you reminding me that has been very helpful. And I just love how passionate you are, your emphasis on creativity. And I love how honest and raw you've been just about the hard times, things not being easy, and always your ability to take accountability is so inspirational. So thank you for your time, George. And it's so amazing, just like, it's crazy. I watched you as a kid, so this is such an honor.
Thank you. No, Andy, thank you, and congratulations on all of your work and what you're doing, because it's wonderful, and you should be very proud of yourself. It was lovely chatting to you, and you know, I wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you, George. Guys, if you've made it this far into the episode, hopefully you guys got some value. Please let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next week on another episode. Peace.